David Jordan is the private advisor to CEOs, specialising in creating results through strategic innovation. Welcome to this week's segment.
Previously, I talked about the CEO Innovation Blueprint about being careful not to copy or follow other innovators. It's very simple, it's a very quick way of solving a problem. Somebody's come up with a great way of doing something and everybody tries to follow and copy and duplicate. The problem is that often that organisation has grabbed the market share already, and the only way you are going to compete with them is through price. What's also a very interesting one that I often raise with CEOs is that often digital disruptors aren't profitable. There are a number of digital disruptors organisations that are growing but haven't made a profit, and their revenue is struggling to cover their costs. So if you're thinking about trying to compete with an organisation that can't make a profit by doing exactly what they're doing, you're going to run into a lot of troubles. So it's very important to step back and actually think about how you can differentiate yourself. That disruptor might have identified a problem, but how could you solve that problem a different way? And how could you organise to do that while solving a whole lot of other problems? And so it's very important, don't follow what the digital disruptor is doing, but actually consider how you could leapfrog the digital disruptor and how you can differentiate yourself. So again, when we're looking at digital disruptors and how we can defend ourselves against them, we really need to understand what it is about the digital disruptor model that is making such a difference. And probably one of the key issues about digital disruptors is that they're actually focused on cutting out the middleman. So if you look at a type of digital disruptor like peer-to-peer lending allows the person that's lending the money to talk directly to the person who wants to borrow the money without having to pay money to a middleman called a bank. So if you're trying to compete against a digital disruptor whose whole focus is to take you out of the transaction, then you need to really think about what your business is about. And this is a very important thing. We go back to that same question. What is the problem you're solving for the customer? Because if you can add value to the transaction, then the customer will keep you in the transaction. If you're not adding value to the customer, then they're very happy to bypass you. So again, when you're looking at the digital disruptors, don't look at the technology. Look at how you're adding value to your customer. Moving on from thinking about the digital disruptor, one of the challenges that comes on is that a lot of what's happening in the business world at the moment is having an impact on price. We're finding that competitors are driving down price. It's very important with innovation is not to actually do something that reduces your revenue, but to work out how you can increase your revenue. When I was talking about with a digital disruptor, how I can compete against them, is to make sure that I don't end up being cheap like them because all I'm doing is cutting my margin, but to focus on how I can add value and justify why I should charge the revenues or price that I would like to get from the organisation. A very good example that we had was a situation in the United States in a country town. We had a father who was running a hairdresser, the only hairdresser in the town, and was employing a number of people and making a reasonably good trade. Along came a company that was like a Just Cuts, looking at volume and were price sensitive. So they came in, they were offering $6 haircuts. And this family-owned hairdresser started losing their customers. Father was very worried, and son came back from an MBA course that we're doing. They sat down and looked at the problem. And it was very good. The solution was a sign in the window. We fix $6 haircuts. And it's really important to think about this, is that the organisation that was looking at driving volume and price wasn't looking at how you added value to the customer. Should you duplicate what they're doing and cut your profits? Or should you look at how you can add value to that business? That same model is what you need to think very carefully about when you're dealing with a digital disruptor. Don't follow them into the model of cutting your revenue. One of the topics that the CEO Innovation Blueprint touches on is about roll-up reporting or corporate reporting. And if you think about how businesses have changed over the last 10 years and what the requirements of a board is in that last decade, the needs of the executive and the boards have outgrown the reporting systems in the organization. You're a CEO, you're trying to drive change, you're trying to drive growth, trying to drive profit, you're coming up with new ideas, you're trying to be an agile business, you're trying to be a lean business. You need to understand where the business might be in 2 years' time. You need to be reacting to what's happening with your competitors. And your reporting system tells you what happened last month. How's that helpful? It's nice to know, but you can't change what happened last month. You need to know what could happen next month to drive that change. So if you're a CEO who's looking to be competitive and dynamic and responsive, you need to really think about how you can change your corporate reporting systems, the strategic systems to actually support you in that drive.
To get your copy of David Jordan's book, The CEO Innovation Blueprint, go to his website, theceoblueprint.com.au.